It is now 2022. In November, we'll be celebrating the 10-year release anniversary of Black Ops 2. And I can't help but feel a certain way about it. I mean, the franchise is still alive and kicking, I guess, but it seems like with each installment into the series, it's been growing more and more stale, and it's just been going down this dark path of nobody gives a shit anymore. The most recent installment into the franchise, Vanguard, that game is considered to be one of the worst Call of Duties released in years, and the numbers prove it. It just seems like nobody really cares about COD the way that they used to. I kind of just wanted to look back on a game that was really the pinnacle of Call of Duty at its best times. Besides the decade-long anniversary of Black Ops 2's release, the growing monotony in the series was also a reason I wanted to make this video. I kind of just wanted to go into my own experience with a Call of Duty that I've, grew up with. That was a part of my childhood. It was definitely something to me, and I'm sure it was something to a lot of you too if you're watching this as well. There were so many things that Black Ops 2 did right compared to its successors, and I kind of just want to talk about them in this video. Little disclaimer, most of this is going to be my own experience with the game. I'm not really going to delve too in-depth with the campaign, multiplayer, and zombies and all that, but I will be giving some feedback about it in my own personal opinion, so there's your opinion warning. Also, one other disclaimer, I'm not saying that Black Ops 2 is the best Call of Duty released. If you were a diehard fan of Modern Warfare 2, you're gonna fucking come on this channel and say some bullshit like, oh my god, well, this fucking kid doesn't know dick about shit. Well, you don't know shit about dick. Leave me alone. Without further ado, this is my retrospective of one of the best games of my childhood, Black Ops 2. Before I reflect on everything this game had to offer, I want to talk a bit about the background of when this game was released. I was like a 10-year-old schmuck who was just playing fucking everything I can get my little grimy hands on. I was rocking the Xbox 360. I know the console wars are divisive. I don't give a fuck what console you play on, leave me alone. I was playing games like Halo, Minecraft, Castle Miner Z, any $1 game on the Xbox Live Indie Store. Was a game rated M for mature? I didn't give a fuck. It was the exploration stage of my gamer upbringing. And one of the best games I had played up to that point was Black Ops 1. Black Ops 1 is a great game in my opinion. It was the first Call of Duty that I had played that I really enjoyed multiplayer and played extensively, up to prestiging and shit like that. It was one of the first CODs I played with, a zombies mode second only to World at War. The campaign was also pretty insane too.
Allow me to introduce Sergei Kozma, the monster of Macleod.
I'm glad you're a friend, Sergei.
But when the sequel to Black Ops 2 was revealed in this bizarre, chaotic trailer, it really made me eager to play the game. It boasted fucking explosions, jets flying around, futuristic warfare. That trailer was actually pretty cringy in hindsight, especially by today's standards. That shit wouldn't fly. If they tried releasing that shit in 2016 onwards, it would be YouTube Rewind all over again. You know that wondrous feeling years ago when a game was coming out and people were so hyped that they were lining up outside of fucking GameStops to get their grimy hands on it at midnight? I was watching a few videos of it, and it's really tough to take that trip down memory lane. But I'm glad I did, because it shows that video games were this very special thing that people were devoted to and loved with a passion. And I feel like that's kind of a thing that over the years has really not been shown as much, mainly because, everything's going digital, so physical copies are becoming more obsolete. But, people just don't really care about video games anymore. Or maybe I'm just getting fucking old. I don't really know. Obviously, being 10 years old, I didn't camp outside of a GameStop, but I did get the game for Christmas. Little side note, I remember that if you pre-ordered it, you would get Nuketown 2025 free with the game. And I was pretty bummed out because, I didn't pre-order it, I got it for Christmas. But the copy that Santa bought it from was from Best Buy. And nobody bought Black Ops 2 at Best Buy, so they already had a pre-order copy, and I didn't have to pre-order the game to get it. So boom, I got it for free. I didn't have to pre-order jack shit. Alright, so I got the game, booted it up, and I was met with this ominous, futuristic loading screen. I think the first thing I played was the campaign. I'm not too sure, my memory's not that good, but I think the voice chat lobbies and multiplayer were a little bit too intimidating for me at the time, because, I'd be sitting behind the TV with my controller and I wouldn't want to talk to 30-year-old men calling me slurs. But the campaign was amazing. It was unique. The weapons and technology were futuristic that hadn't really been done in the Call of Duty franchise up to that point, so that was, kind of a refresher for me to see. The missions were diverse and followed up with the original Black Ops storyline. I remember scratching my head when I played the first mission, and you know, you're playing as Mason, and you're like in the 1980s or something, you're like fighting in this field, and I remember I was like,
This is the future? The guns look old.
now obviously if I had given a shred of attention to the cutscene that plays before the mission, I would know that, you know, this takes place in the past. But, you know, I was the avid type of gamer to just skip all the cutscenes because I just cared about gameplay. But speaking of flashbacks, the way that this game incorporated its mix of past missions with the future missions was also really fucking cool to see. I think that the game did a good job at portraying the storyline, and really hammered down like, hey, your choices matter, because anything that you could do in an earlier mission could affect another mission, and you know, so on. That mission that you played as Woods, shooting Menendez in the head, you know, that could completely change the ending, and that was so cool to see. Its close connection with the original Black Ops storyline was also neat. You know, keep in mind that the events of Black Ops 1 take place in like, I think the 1960s, and this game takes place in, you know, 2025, so kind of blending all the years from in between those two, you know, dates are pretty crazy. But the game pulled it off by utilizing the characters that they had developed from the first game, and giving them even more background, making them feel even more human, and, you know, not making them just mindless NPCs. In addition to this, they added a new cast of characters, and that could have been terrible. You know, typically when games throw characters at you like left and right, that typically results in the player not really caring about most of the characters in the storyline because they don't really know shit about dick about them. But I feel like these characters were developed just right, where they feel like they weren't added that way. And one of these characters I want to talk about is Menendez. Now, as you know, probably if you've played the game, Menendez is the main antagonist of the story. I think his character was incredibly tragic, and all of the missions that, you know, gave a little bit more lore of him kind of just really cemented his, you know, antagonist background. Menendez as the main villain of the game was a good move. You needed someone that the player would, you know, have to hate. The way that they did it was brilliant because, you know, you're like tricked into shooting Mason whenever, you know, Menendez sets you up and then he blows open your fucking leg. That in and of itself is a huge motivator to take Menendez down. And I remember when I played the campaign, I really wanted to take Menendez down after seeing that. That was so sad. That was so sad. Oh my god. I probably didn't shed tears. Or maybe I did. But I don't know. The subsequent scene that plays after Woods is tricked into shooting Mason stuck with me the most. This scene was probably one of the best in the entire Call of Duty, you know, franchise, because it's like these storylines merging, and it's just fucking wild. A lot of things went into play here. You know, Woods' reaction to seeing that he had killed Mason, his reaction to seeing Menendez after what he did to him with that fucking cargo ship thing, and the part where Woods, Hudson, and David are all captured. There's not really a whole lot else to say about it except to just watch it.
Your best friend, Alex Mason, is dead. By your own hand. Do you understand why?
He was gonna kill David.
Because you must suffer, as I have suffered. Now one more must die. You, Woods, or David. Make a decision now, or in 10 seconds you're all dead.
Woods, I can't. I have 2 kids. They... Fuck!
Okay,
Me! Do it! Do it!
your life will be consumed by absolute loss. Then and only then will you understand what you have done to me. I will not kill you, boy. Not like Woods. You will suffer with me. And then one day, you will see this pendant again. And you will remember everything you saw and felt tonight. You will remember all the years of anger and pain. And when you do, David, please, come to me.
Dad! No! Dad!
Now that is a villain. Holy shit. When I played through this the first time, I just remember sitting there in shock. Like, there are more missions that depict his rage, his backstory with his sister, but this one right here was quite possibly one of the best villain scenes I've ever seen in any video game. The reason I'm so adamant on talking about Menendez is because he was such a big part of Black Ops 2's storyline, you know. As I said, he was the main antagonist. You need somebody that the player really wants motivation to take down. I feel like without him, the motivation to take down the quote-unquote bad guys wouldn't have been so strong. He was an excellent villain in this game, and I think that covers just about everything. Well, besides the ending. Now, technically, there are a lot of endings to this game. You know, as I stated before, a lot of the game can be altered depending on the choices you make throughout it. There's the ending with Menendez murdering Woods. There's the one where you fucking shoot him in the head. There's the one where he uploads a YouTube video. Canonically, I like to think that Alex Mason surviving the shot from Woods is the true ending, because, you know, getting to see all of them at the end kind of just reunited. I don't know where he was for 25 years or 40 years or however long he was gone MIA, but still, you know, it's pretty nice to see. Just seeing everybody there at the end, really, after seeing all the gruesome shit that happens throughout the story and the game giving you that you did it feeling is like, you know, it's awesome. I don't know, maybe it's unrealistic, but that's the ending I hold close to my heart. That's my reflection on the campaign portion of this game, and by God was it a roller coaster. The campaign was a blast. I'm not going to say that it was the best in the whole series. You know, I haven't played every single COD to make that assumption, but it is the best one that I've played personally. I don't remember exactly when I started playing multiplayer in this game, but I remember the joy that I felt while I was playing it. First of all, the futuristic interface, the futuristic weapons, the futuristic kill streaks. There was a lot going on here. It was pretty neat. These were all things that I hadn't really seen in other games up to that point. And as I've said again, this is my own experience and my own opinion. You know, I don't know how old you are watching this, but I'm sure that, you know, a lot of other gamers around my age felt the same way. You know, this was really fucking cool. This Call of Duty's multiplayer experience was by far probably the most satisfying I've ever played. The Ballista, the best fucking quickscoping sniper of all time. I would dookie on people with that gun. It didn't even need attachments to be good. It was that good. It had just enough power to not make it overpowered, but you could also, like, you know, scope in fast enough to where people were rocking this shit all over. And if you got quickscoped by it, you couldn't help but appreciate if they were a good quickscoper or not. You wouldn't even be angry that they quickscoped you, unless you have a skill issue. The LSAT with the target finder. If you use that combination, you are burning in the deepest depths of hell. I have no remorse for you, and you are a genuinely terrible person. The maps in this game were also classics. Just to name a few, you got Hijacked, you know, we all remember that map. Nuketown, seeing this fan favorite remastered was exhilarating. Standoff, if you camped on the balconies you should die in a hole. And Raid, Shadow Legends. These maps felt like a breath of fresh air, and while new maps aren't unique to just Black Ops 2, I can say that a majority of these maps were really enjoyable to play on. But you can't forget about the DLC maps. You know, Black Ops 2 had 4 DLC expansions, and you know, if you're a COD player, you already know what's going on, you know. The company that released the COD would release 4 more maps, you had to pay $15, you got the season pass, you know, you already know what's going on here. Each of these expansions were really something. I'm not going to go too in depth with each of the map packs or, you know, any of the expansions or anything like that, but there were a few excellent maps that they released. Grind, that map was fucking great. Studio, a great remake of the classic firing range from Black Ops 1. Magma, one of the worst maps I've ever played. All in all, the maps in Black Ops 2 were generally great in my opinion. Another thing I wanted to cover while I'm in this portion of the video are the controversial DLC weapons. Black Ops 2 was the first COD to you know, feature a DLC exclusive weapon. I think the first one that they released was the Peacekeeper, where if you bought the expansion, you know, you'd get access to this gun, and you were the only... You had to buy the DLC to get it, and it was kind of bullshit in my opinion. It raised the question of whether or not Call of Duty was gravitating towards something more of a pay-to-win nature. Personally, I don't like that they did this, but I don't think that the gun was so great that everybody was rocking it. I know a sizable group did, but you know, it wasn't game-breaking or anything like that. I think it was just a pretty good gun. Probably shouldn't be locked behind a pay barrier, but you know, cry about it. And you know, with later games in the franchise implementing the give us your money, you get a good weapon type of nature into their games, it just seemed kind of a bad move overall for Treyarch to do that. I'm not sure if it was even in their control. I'm pretty sure the parent company was probably just being pieces of shit as usual. The last part of the multiplayer experience I wanted to talk about were the skins. Holy shit, the satisfaction of getting the diamond camo for any of the guns in Black Ops 2 was amazing. Now obviously if you try to get diamond camos today, all you would have to do is get into a modded lobby, and that's not hard to do at all because all fucking public lobbies now have some sort of hacker or modder in there, and they'll probably give you all the skins your heart could desire. But doing it legitly and flexing the diamond snipers was something that I didn't get the chance to experience, but it was something that I wish I would have. It's kind of sad that the state of multiplayer is, you know, just completely broken at this point. But it's bound to happen to the best of, you know, the best of games when time marches us all towards our inevitable demise. Speaking of demise, making the undead reach their second demise in this game was fucking bananas. This game's zombies mode was one of, if not the best parts of the game. It was by far the mode I had played most when I was a kid, and it was a blast. Maybe there's a bit of nostalgia that goes into play when I talk about it, but I don't really care. Let's start out with the basics. The trailer that had dropped for Zombies boasted this incredibly engaging gameplay with super close camera shots showing off a variety of weapons to battle the undead, a new rideable bus that transported players around different locations, and a new building system which allowed players to obtain items to progress or survive. Lots of changed gameplay from the previous generation of Zombies. Let me just briefly commend Treyarch for releasing these trailers for Zombies because they knew how to get players hyped up. And when they would drop these trailers, it felt like something genuine, like they actually wanted the players to be excited. You know, not for money or anything, but they just genuinely were like, guys, we've been working on this, we've been, you know, waiting for you guys to try this shit out. We can't wait for you guys to have fun with what we created. And they delivered every single time, except Black Ops 4. Transit had a bag of mixed reactions. Some loved the map, some despised it, and some thought that it was one of the worst maps that was ever created in Black Ops. Personally, it wasn't my favorite map, but I know that it was different, so that was something that was admirable. And because it was different, that's why a lot of people didn't like it, but that's also the reason a lot of people did like it. You know, it was something different, you know? What fucking map before that had you ride a bus around a whole fucking map? Speaking of which, that map consisted of like 4 maps, and one of those was Town. Town had everything you needed for an authentic, rich Zombies experience. You know, you had perks, you had Pack-a-Punch, you had training areas. It was kind of a small map, but it was still doable with 4 players, which pretty much gave you everything for a good time with the boys. Farm was just like Town, without Pack-a-Punch, so it sucked ass. The DLC maps for Zombies were also relatively good in my opinion. You know, I know Die Rise was a bit controversial because of the strange map design, but you know, it had some innovative gameplay there. You remember the Sliquifire? That gun was fucking hilarious to use. The Spring Launcher made for some pretty interesting gameplay mechanics. And Who's Who is probably the worst perk that Treyarch has ever created. Mob of the Dead. My favorite Zombies map, hands down, of all time. The Gritty Story. The Hell's Retriever, the zombie and art design, Afterlife. There was a lot going on here. This was the first map in my life that I had ever surpassed round 50 on. I played it all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if all of my time playing this map alone would have surpassed all of, you know, I guess game time of all other games from that era. I fucking played this map so much, and I have no regrets. Buried was something. It was a fun map, but I hadn't really gotten the hang of it. You know, there were so many things you had to do correctly, and I just never got good at it. Now don't get me wrong, I enjoyed playing on this map, but not as much as some of the other ones that Black Ops 2 featured. Speaking of doing a lot, Origins was also a pretty good map too. But there were also a billion fucking things you had to do in this map. You had to get the best staff, you had to get the good ending, you had, you know, to do all of that. There was a lot going on here, and this was just a map that I hadn't really played extensively. I didn't know the full lore about, I didn't know any methods behind it. I just played it occasionally, and, you know, I liked it. I just never got good at it. It's probably my fault that I hadn't really played the latter 2 maps I had just said, because I was so invested with Mob of the Dead that I probably just completely neglected the other 2. So that's on me. But I know that Origins is a fan favorite among the diehard fans who played Zombies extensively, so I'll do you some justice. I recently purchased Black Ops 3 with Zombie Chronicles on Steam, and that gave me access to play it. It's pretty fun. Now, obviously, it got corrupted with Gobblegum, the pay-to-win bullshit that Treyarch decided to add to the third game for some reason, but I like to play without it. Zombies in Black Ops 2 was definitely something. I would go as far as to say that it had the best zombies experience, just because it didn't have any really, like, you know, as I said, pay-to-win bullshit, and all the maps were replayable. It had the authentic zombies feel to them. I would say more about the other modes like Turned and Grief, but they are pretty forgettable. I just like the 8-player co-op. That was pretty cool.
A cow. And you think I'm talking about breast milk? You sick fuck?
Pretty sure that I don't want you milk regardless. It
Pretty sure you should shut the fuck up now. Thanks.
Alright, so I've covered every single aspect of this game. What am I trying to say? What message am I trying to deliver? What was the point of this video? This all boils down to one thing. What do you make of it? I just told you about my experience with the game that I hold dearly to my heart. I've made so many memories with this game, and I feel like introspecting on these memories is essential in remembering good times. I'm a lot different from what I was when I was 10 years old and playing Black Ops 2. A lot around me has changed, the world has changed, and debatably not for the better. With the Halo 3 server shutting down permanently just over a week ago, I foresee that Black Ops 1 and 2 will follow. And probably all other games you remember from your childhood will probably go down that path as well. It's disheartening to see, but it's bound to happen. Where were you when this game came out? What were you doing at that time? It's important to remember these moments in the past and kind of just, you know, look around you and remember that everything around you is finite. Enjoy the things that make you happy. Remember the feelings you're experiencing right now, because 10 years from now, you'll wish you would have. Thanks for stopping by.